you're a home buyer, somebody or a young person looking to buy a home, you need a bit of a reset.
There is a possibility on the other side of this that inflation could actually be quite
Welcome
low.
back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and we're going to go over the eviction crisis that's going on right now and how landlords are absolutely screwed on top of the tenants. And so I'm going to break down who the biggest victim is, which unfortunately, you guys, and I really want you to think about this, is children. And I'm also going to go over the top 5 metro areas that are surging past pre-COVID levels of eviction. And on top of that, we're going to look into a couple videos that are going to go into what happened, essentially looking into the end of the pandemic era eviction bans. And also we're going to go into a video that is actually the state or city of Galveston that is evicting an entire neighborhood of homes. And so guys, the unaffordability crisis around America is still in full effect. People are struggling through all income classes, and especially the people at the very bottom, the people that are renting. You guys, this is a very bad situation because essentially what happened is rents absolutely exploded. Now that was offset again by the pre-pandemic and COVID relief programs, but unfortunately now that has ended, that has absolutely rug pulled many families that have already been struggling. So is that really fair? I don't think so, you guys. They didn't ask for their rent to be doubled in 3 years. Either way, we're going to do an in-depth report today on the eviction crisis, and we're going to see how that is affecting all parties. And don't forget, you guys, I'm not a financial advisor, even though my bio is as someone that made a free home buying course. That way, whether or not you agree with me on what's going to happen next, at least what I'm doing is I'm giving you back 2 decades of experience for free. I pay my own money to keep this program free for you that wants to know the bare minimum about how to invest in real estate. So hit that link. It is in my description. But either way, you guys, we're going to start with a Yahoo article that's going to go into the true victims of the foreclosure crisis. Who's getting evicted in America? The latest data shows a grim reality for millions of U.S. adults and kids facing eviction as the housing crisis continues for renters. Couple paragraphs here. Propelled by rising rents and shortage of affordable housing, eviction filings are skyrocketing across the country, leaving many Americans scrambling to cover costs, find a new place, or face the risk of homelessness. The rental crisis was already worrying before the pandemic. Roughly, listen to this, 7.6 million Americans faced eviction each year. That's crazy, and that's normal from 2007 to 2016, according to a recent report by the Eviction Lab. Now, who's the greatest at risk of eviction? And this is something that was really eye-opening to me and really, hit me in my soul like, oh my gosh, we can't forget about this. But aside from spotlighting how many people face eviction, the report points to a surprising group most at risk for removal from rental property: children. Each year, 2.9 million children under 18 are threatened with eviction, while 1.5 million are evicted, representing 2 in 5 of the entire population that face eviction each year. When I started writing about these issues, I kind of thought kids would shield families from evictions, but they expose families to eviction. The eviction filing rate for adults living with children was 10.4%. That is over double the risk for those without children. So when people slam me for having empathy for people that are struggling, remember, you guys, they really are struggling. The people with kids, especially single parents, whether they're a mother or a father, are struggling. Almost double the risk if you have children. That's how out of control the affordability is right now in the market. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you some good news depending on your metro area if you are renting and facing eviction. But you guys, again, show a little empathy, show a little sympathy for these people, especially the people at the bottom. Not all people are corrupt. Not all people are committing fraud. There are a great number of families that are hurting right now financially without an ability to get themselves out of a financial hole. I know that because it happened to me. It can happen to anyone. Now let's go into the top 5 metro areas that are facing evictions that are skyrocketing past pre-COVID levels. And some of these cities are going to shock you. Now, starting with the number 5 metro area for skyrocketing evictions, that is Fort Worth, Texas. Now, right now, Fort Worth is sitting at a 34% above average. So 134% of average, which is again 34% more than it was pre-COVID. And right now the eviction filing rate is double digits. To me, that's kind of shocking. This means 1 in 10 renters are being evicted. How is that possible? And 1 out of 4 renters gets evicted multiple times. There's a massive problem going on in Fort Worth right now. And that top with STR bans, it's probably going to get worse for landlords and better for tenants. Now, when we look at the filing rate, and you guys feel free to come to Eviction Lab, you can see that different areas have different filing rates. For example, this census tract has a filing rate of 35.8%. So 35.8% of renters are being evicted. That's crazy. Most of them are white. 93% are white, and then 6.3% Latino, 0% Black. So go around this and you'll see for yourself, the evictions are very, very different from metro area and section to section. Here's another census tract at 25%, but right across the street, only 6.81%. So if I'm an investor or if I want to, invest in my primary residence, I'm going to be cautious about some of the metro areas that have skyrocketing eviction. Now, surprisingly, this one hit me by surprise, but the number 4 metro area is actually Minneapolis. I'm really, really surprised at that. That's sitting at 139% of average. That means it's 39% above average. Now, even though it's 39% above average, there's still way lower eviction filing rate than Dallas-Fort Worth. You see that here with an eviction filing rate of only 4%. So that's relatively low. The really shocking thing, though, is the trajectory of how much those evictions are increasing. Probably the predominant reason is unaffordability and those pre-pandemic eviction bans ending. So it was low up until that stuff stopped coming in. And it's so bad there right now, they stopped reporting mid-September. You guys, this is to November, but again, they have stopped reporting. So some pretty bad things happening over there. Let's look at the map of evictions. So again, going to the filing rate, you can come back here and do all kinds of stuff, but some areas of Minneapolis are at 27% filing rate, while other areas are 0%. So here we go, 11%, but again, 1%. So depending on where it's at, looks like Brooklyn Park has a lot of evictions going on. So you see clusters, South Minneapolis, East Minneapolis, North Minneapolis. It looks for the most part, West and South are doing okay, but North and East, not so much. Now, the number 3 metro area is Houston, Texas, my own home metro area. I do own a house out here that is a rental property, even though I'm renting right now. I know my situation is pretty complicated, but I'm doing things for a specific reason. Now, Houston, Texas is 144%. So 44% higher than pre-pandemic. That's really, really crazy, you guys. That is a 10% eviction filing rate, with 1 out of 4 renters having an eviction filed against them more than once. So pretty unraveling things going on in Houston. And I'm actually going to show you a video where the city had to evict an entire neighborhood. Now, when we go to the filing rate, you can see some areas of Houston are absolutely destroyed. For example, this census tract showing 66% of renters. So 2/3 of renters are being evicted in the census tract. That's insane to me. Another one here at 26%. But other areas low. Look at this, 2, 3, 2 and 3 and 4%. So really, really low. But again, when you go to some of these clusters here, it's just shocking. 19% right here. We got 52% right here. Galveston is not doing good. That's 14.7%. Texas City at 20%. I mean, some of these areas are just completely out of whack, you guys. Absolutely out of whack. Near Pearland, 25% of renters. I mean, something needs to change, and prices definitely need to come down. Now, the number 2 metro area is actually Gainesville. This was a huge surprise to me because the filing rate is only 5%, yet they are 51% above average, sitting at 151% of average. So what's going on with Gainesville right now is it's absolutely melting down, and the evictions are absolutely skyrocketing. This is the number 2, again, at a whopping somehow 51%. And take a look at the map. Pretty much the entire area is in distress, except maybe, the center sitting at under 1%. But again, when you go out here, 7.9%, 3%, we have 6%, 6%, 4.7%, 3%, 4.89%. Now that's way lower, you guys, absolutely ridiculously lower than what we've been tracking so far. But nevertheless, the trajectory of those evictions are absolutely out of control. 51% of pre-COVID is shocking. So to me, that tells me that this community right here was heavily dependent on those eviction bans and moratoriums. Now, the number one metro area should be no surprise. The leading metro area for evictions is actually Las Vegas, sitting somehow, you guys, sitting at 161% of average, or 61% more evictions than what was pre-COVID. That's shocking to me. And look at how bad it really is. When we look at the eviction filing rate, 16%. So 16% of total households in Las Vegas with an eviction. Serial filings are 37%. So 1 out of every 3 renters gets an eviction filing multiple times. That's shocking. These are nasty numbers, and it's another reason why that Las Vegas can potentially lead the housing market crash. Not to mention they have STR bans that are now being forced, so that should be providing some relief to these families that are struggling. Now, when we look at the filing rate, again, you guys, some areas are just completely out of control. Like this census tract, 32% of renters facing eviction, 31% facing eviction. I mean, this is crazy. Right here, 22%. Right here, 95% of renters. So pretty much all renters in the census tract are getting evicted. I think we should keep our eyes on Las Vegas, because Las Vegas, again, is having all those red flags and telltale sounds of a housing market crash. And again, when you add the fact that they basically banned almost all STRs, or short-term rentals, that's going to be a huge problem. Now, I suspect, again, going into 2024 and into 2025, rent's going to probably drop significantly in areas like Las Vegas. But for the landlords that just cannot rent their houses out, that's going to create more inventory for existing homes. And that inventory is going to be forced selling. And I'll show you that at the end of this video, because now I want to listen to a video that's going to spell kind of what's happening. Why are there so many evictions right now? So it's a brief clip from a news station that I found very valuable.
18 months of rent, so thousands and thousands of dollars due come tomorrow. A lot of renters saying they simply don't have the money to pay, but landlords meanwhile say they can't wait any longer for all of that rent money. We know that this comes as LA faces a homelessness crisis, a housing crisis. Now, last week, a lot of renters came together to hold a rally in order to bring attention to this issue, because they say they are worried that they could be facing eviction in the next couple of days, and they're hoping the city does do something to help.
Wages are not comparable to the rents. So we're asking that the city officials, the mayor, Karen Bass, we know that you just did a lot last week for the unhoused, but we're going to have many more unhoused if we don't have a permanent eviction prevention plan in place.
That's why later this morning, Mayor Karen Bass will be holding a press conference, because she wants both landlords and tenants to know their rights about this situation and what resources might be available to those renters who don't have the money to pay all this back by tomorrow. We expect to hear more from the mayor on her spending plan, including $18 million set aside for short-term emergency assistance programs that would allow some to apply for up to 6 months of back rent, and $23 million set aside for legal representation. But what happens come tomorrow if renters don't pay the money? We asked one attorney. Take a listen.
I think that the most that the landlords can do is to take their claim to small claims court and ask that the tenants pay these debts as just your normal consumer debts, and not grounds for eviction.
Okay, so his solution is don't evict them, let them pay. But the thing is, guys, is they wouldn't have been evicted, or that process wouldn't have started, if they had the ability to pay. So I really want to know what your comments here are, because the thing is, guys, is, you know, again, the people you got to remember there's a lot of people on the bottom, and a lot of those people really do need help. So in other words, they got rug pulled. And what this is saying is basically the only way for them to be saved and to have a roof over their head. And remember, the highest at risk are people with children. The only way out of this for them is that the state or the government keeps bailing them out. I mean, they want a permanent eviction plan. That's absolutely awful, because not only is it awful for them that need help, because again, they got rug pulled, rent absolutely exploded. That's not fair. They can't afford that. But on top of that, what are the landlords supposed to do? Do we make the government take over the landlord responsibilities and foot this bill? I mean, do we ban all institutional investing and just all mom and pop investing in the housing market? What needs to be done here? We obviously can't have a permanent eviction. We can't have permanent eviction because people will just live there for free. But on the other hand, American families right now are suffering. So what's the solution? And you guys, this is much worse than you can imagine, because not only is this a problem here, but where the state actually subsidizes renting is a massive problem as well. I'm going to show you guys the next video where they're evicting an entire neighborhood here in the Houston area of Galveston.
An entire neighborhood in Galveston County is being evicted, leading to a complete shutdown of the area. And what's more, if homeowners cannot afford to move their houses, they're going to lose them.
The entire Green Villa mobile home community on FM 3436 near San Leon Road is controlled by Texas City. KPRC2's Joel Eisenbaum is there now with a story. Joel?
Daniela, I am literally standing on what used to be someone's home up until just a few days ago. It's now been demolished. That's their water heater right there. They left with what they could. That's their neighbors. They're still here, but I bet they won't be for long. People get evicted all the time. It's unfortunate. But what's different in a tucked away corner of Galveston County is this. So this community really doesn't officially exist anymore.
Nope. Yeah, not anymore.
This entire community is going away, and it gets worse. If you're a tenant of Green Villa, unless you can move your home, you lose it.
So when we see these piles of rubble, these are people who couldn't afford to move their homes.
Yes, they couldn't move out of here. They took everything they could.
The landlords are shuttering this family business after decades. Too many expensive hoops to jump through to bring this modest place to live up to code.
I actually quit my job just to be out here to make sure that the city does not take anything away from my family. They put 30 years into this place.
The whole situation is just overwhelming.
Deborah Nigber has been here for decades, and she's a holdout. But she knows the end is near at Green Villa. Still mending from a stroke, she's now headed to Pennsylvania to stay with a daughter. And these were supposed to be the golden years.
Oh, I don't even have the words for it. It's ugly.
So Galveston's solution was to bulldoze an entire neighborhood. And you guys, when it comes to manufactured homes or mobile homes, it costs a tremendous amount of money to move that. You can't just move a mobile home. That's why they changed the term to manufactured housing. But I mean, what's the solution here? They're just going to bulldoze that. Hopefully the city goes back out there and makes, a whole bunch of apartments or does something to improve that area. I mean, think of the families, okay? Think of the families here. This is not a good thing. And you guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm seeing massive changes in my own housing market here in Houston. So if you're a landlord, like I'm a landlord here in Houston, you better beware, because the amount of inventory right now that's coming to the market is exploding. And I can finally show you guys that. And I'm going to show you guys that by going on MLS. Now, this is the MLS right here. And this is the Kingwood area. This is what we've been watching pretty much the whole time on my channel. I stick to a small area so we can see basically the trends that are going on here. And I want to point out how many listings right now are up for rent. Now, when I decided to rent a house, you guys, there was probably 15, maybe 20 listings. And right now, just on the screen, there's 157. I probably have 2 to 3 times more listings in Kingwood than what were available than when I decided to rent. And you guys, not only existing. So most of this stuff you see right here is existing, but right up here where I'm circling with this hand, this is a build to rent community. This is all brand new. And you see this too right here. Same thing right here. I've taken you guys to this neighborhood. So again, now we have all of this new houses. These are SFRs. These are like tiny, like townhouses right here, are now competing with all of these mom and pop investors right here. And not only that, look at down here. You see it says 58. This is a brand new apartment complex that has 58 new units that hit the market. You guys, overnight, this small, tiny little area of Kingwood has another 58 units. This is not sustainable. And I'm not just talking about the tenants. We already know it's not sustainable with the tenants. Obviously, depending on the metro area, some metro areas are doing well. We're taking a look at the worst in shape metro areas, but the landlords, you guys, are absolutely going to get crushed. They're screwed right now. I myself am worried, and I cash flow very, very nice. Now, I didn't convert my primary residence to a rental because I wanted to or because that was my desire. It was just the circumstance. But nevertheless, you guys, I'm looking at the rental market and I may just sell my house because what's going on right now is absolutely out of control. Again, both if you're a tenant or a landlord. And guys, please do me a favor. I know I'm just one man sharing my perspectives. I have all of the data linked. I'm interested to know what your thoughts are about a solution. What's a solution that would help both the tenants and the landlord? And honestly, in my opinion, you guys, and I know I have a house, we really need to side with the families, especially families with children, because they are the biggest at risk. And as a society, I believe we should help those people. Unfortunately, the money that's designed to help those people appears to be going to people that are making the situation worse. But I'm really interested to hear what your perspective is. And other than that, I hope you guys got some additional value, insights, and perspective. And if you're out there investing in real estate, you guys know I wish you luck and I hope you win.